Welcome to the SharePoint Patterns and Practices short video, and this time we can have a look on how to correctly handle numeric values in a web part properties. And I'll let Waldek Mastercards to go through the actual sample and the solution for the challenge. So Waldek, take it away.
Thank you. So imagine you have two web parts on a page. You have one that shows the latest document that you've edited, and then you want to have another one like the one here that shows the other three. Right, so together you can show four, right? So if you use two of them, you want to show the latest one on top and then the next three next, right? And here we actually see the last one twice. So in the other web part, we want to actually skip through the first document so that the documents that we see are actually second, third, and fourth. And the other web part should show three docs. So here we say skip X first document 1. And while it did skip the first document, because now it shows second, third, and fourth, it also showed fifth. So how come that a web part that was tasked to show only 3 documents, now it shows 4? Let's have a look how it's built in code. So here we have our Angular app that responds to whenever we change properties in web part property pane, right? So here we have init, to which we pass the number that we entered, and it is a number, and we pass it to our documents service here that we use to access to actually get the documents. And we use for that a fixed array that we slice. So we say we start from 1 and we want to go until 4. So 1 plus 3 is 4. But that does not work quite the way you think, right? Because you've just seen that it shows not 3 documents, but actually 4. And here, as you can see, we output the value that we get. So the start from plus 3. So let's have a look in our browser what the value is that we actually get. So let's reload the workbench. And now you can see here that the value is not as you would think 4, but actually 13. So with that, you see that it does not add the numbers, but it actually adds it as a string. So it adds 1 and 3 as a string. So how come that it is that way, even despite the fact that in all of our code, we instructed the code, then we work with a number? Well, the whole trick is that if we go back to web part, which is here, in our case, we use the property pane text field to manage the value. And the thing with property pane text field is that what it gives back, the value that you entered, is not the number, but it is actually a string. So even though that everywhere inside the manifest, we say that we have the number, in our web part properties interface, we say that we have to have the number. Throughout all of our code, we say that we work with a number. We actually don't. And it works fine in TypeScript, it compiles, but actually the place where the property pane text field assigns the value that user entered in the field to our property, at that point, the value that has been assigned back is actually a string. And actually, the problem that we have now is that because we said that we have a number, we cannot do something here like parse int, because parse int requires a string. So one way to deal with that would be to change the value to a string. So here we would go to our manifest, and here we would say it's not a 0, but it's a string. Then we would go to our properties, and we would say that's a string. And then we would change it basically everywhere throughout the web part to tell that it's a string. And then in our code, eventually, what we would do here is that we would change that to string as well. We would remove the value or actually set it to 0. And here we would have to change all of that basically throughout to say that it is a string from which we want to parse the number. And here we would say something like that would be a string. So here, first of all, we would say let start string. And we would say it, or start, we would call it parse int start from. And actually, the best part is that at this point, imagine that somebody would enter text. So we cannot assume that whatever we have here is actually a number. So here we would say number, but here we have to still check if it's not a number, then we have to assign to it a number like this, and that way we could then deal with it. But if you can imagine, if all you really want is a number, that's not really the right approach, right? So another thing that you can do, and which is easier, right? Let's just fix that here, so that we have the warning that we can check in our logs that everything works the way it's supposed to be. So there's this one. Let's revert that to a number. That's correct. Let's change all of that. Okay, and then we go back to our properties. We change that to number, to our manifest. We've been there, web part. And actually what we can do here is, instead using the property pane text field, we can use another thing, which is a slider. And here with that, what we get back is actually the number that we want to have. So here we say min max. So these are the ranges in which we operate, and we say step is 1, so that users can increase it per 1. Code is rebuilding, web part should refresh. And now, let me remove the web part, let me re-edit to the page. And now, when we switch that to 1, you can now see that the web part skips first one and shows 2, 3, 4. And if we now check the logs, we can now see actually 4, which is the value that we want to have. So the thing that you should keep in mind is that whenever you work with numbers in property pane, you should avoid the property pane text field, because what it gives you back is a string, not a number. And with that, if all throughout the code you will say that you have a number, on runtime, only then you will actually see that the value you get is not the value that you expected, right? And you won't be able to catch that earlier.